Hey, this is Cole, on Cole Has No Friends. And me and Clinton have been recently actually uploading some of our conversations. And many of the conversations, I mean, so all of our conversations have already taken place. But since we started our channel and we've been uploading, there has been one user under the username, which is interesting for us because, we're both very nerdy about Star Wars. This user has been commenting a lot of stuff. Obviously, seems to have a Gnostic viewpoint. And we've said it sounds kind of crazy, but we want to have a conversation with this person. So we're thinking about doing it. And yeah. So I'm going to get Clinton on here. What's up, dude?
What are you doing?
Charging my computer on an outlet
Oh,
that is
good.
outside. I know it's very weird. It's like it's perfect for October. It looked like the beginning of a fucking horror movie. I certainly hope that's not the case.
It's starting out like one.
I know it's starting out like one. I don't know if I honestly don't know if we're actually mentally prepared to handle this person, dude. And I'm gonna be very honest with you. I really don't know. I
Well,
mean,
that's what did my message sound like I was even remotely ready to relate or
but it's not even about relating. It's like, can you even digest that data? You know what I mean? Like,
well,
what?
did you go and Google to see what they were talking about at all?
Well, no, but I know all about this stuff. It's like Gnostic, beliefs about the demiurge and all this kind of stuff. I'm saying it's hardcore stuff, and
I
it
don't know anything about it. I was just looking at it and from what it sounds like to me, it's just Christ's consciousness,
well, it's not just
as
that.
or
This
Christ
person's
being
going.
consciousness with like the spiritual something.
This person is going on every fucking conceivable level when it comes to like esoteric, like certain perspective kind of stuff. And I just don't know. Like, first of all, I don't know if I really want to be like entangled with this person. Because, like, right now, like, that was more of a test to actually see if it was a bot. But now, clearly, like, if we do this, we're going to be speaking to a person and it will be undoubtedly true. And our destiny will be inextricably linked to this person, and I don't know about that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like once we do that, it's like all of a sudden the person thinks, "Oh, I have a connection to Cole, and I have a connection to Clinton," and maybe I think even from your point of view, you got to think, there's
Yeah,
fucking.
but the shit they're into, do we really want them to be connected to us in
That's what I'm
whatever shit?
saying. That's what I'm saying. I actually am thinking maybe it's just actually
Like,
like.
what if it is like, I mean, what if they are like into some weird witchcraftery spell stuff, and then we talk to them, and all of a
Exactly.
sudden we get like
Exactly. Yeah.
somehow tied into their.
You're not fucking with me, right? Because like I
No, I'm
agree
being
with you.
serious right
I
now.
agree with you. Like I actually think that that's a little bit like it's sort of like it would be playing with fire. So, but I'm gonna present the two arguments that we should meditate on. Number one, it would be like playing with fire. But on the other hand, like if you just assume the best case scenario, which is that they're just keyboard crazy, okay? And this would be like internet gold, then I mean the only problem is that it's like that little thing of like Gollum and the fucking the ring. It's like technically this is such good content. I hate to use that word, but this is literally the definition of good content, right? But on the other hand, it's like, is this playing with forces that are just. It's because this is the evaluation that I've always made, which is partly why we are where we are and not somewhere else. Is like once you see the forces of darkness, it's like, okay, do you play a little bit with that, or do you say like, nah, not this time? Like this is not something. I mean, because the potential consequences are, you know, I don't know. It feels like
Like, what if, I mean, seriously though, like, what if they get on and they're automatically like they say something just like right out of like some, just all of a sudden they're just like, yes, thank you
well, you
so
know
much
what
for
my
doing this.
test
And
is.
what if that, I'm just gonna say, what if, thank you so much for doing this. I have so much to say. And now that this, now that we have connected, you know, they're like what if they say some just crazy shit where it's
Yeah,
like
that's the problem.
now that
That's the
we've
problem.
communicated, we are now connect. I don't want
Fuck.
that.
Fuck, dude. I don't
Don't want
either. I
that.
don't either. And I'm also thinking like, okay, so do, should I should I uninvite? I mean, like now there's a little bit of a problem of like, okay, first of all, I had no control over the fact that this person gravitated towards our thing going on, right? But
But why is their name Yoda? What is
okay, let's
going
go,
on?
bro. Okay, let's take a different lens because this is okay. Now I'm gonna put on my sort of like conspiracy hat instead of my metaphysical hat, okay? Because the metaphysical hat is way too creepy. So if we
And
just
why
like think,
is it an
but
actual person?
but hold on,
Why?
hold on. Let's go back to the like mid-level sort of conspiracy hat, which actually may be more true, which is that what if the paranoid takes that I sometimes give about like the surveillance state and all that is actually more accurate than we think. And it's like, okay, now that we've talked about this so many times and I told you about the crazy person and whatever, it's like, oh, deploy a fucking a agent or whatever you want to call it, even if it's a AI agent or a real person. Maybe it's a very advanced because now we know how advanced. I mean, it is super advanced. It very well could be like a situation where we're actually supposed to be feeling this way. So you also don't really want to play into their hand. You see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it's trying to scare you with a metaphysical possibility, but it's actually just like an example of a encompassing surveillance state type situation, which again
Or
is
it's
not very
literally
comforting.
somebody who, or it's literally somebody who is mixed up in so much shit and they've gone fucking nuts that we end up talking to this person somehow go nuts through like no way of our own
Yeah,
doing.
no fault of our own, etc.
Yeah.
But did I ever tell you about see now I'm realizing after I've been going through these episodes like I need to be careful about using real names because my instinct is always to cut that because again, it's the
Yeah,
same thing.
I
It's
was
like
wondering about like because we talk like say this and say that and it's like in the Billy one or whatever, he's brought up um and it's like I think he's really the only person that's brought up.
but everything that I've posted so far, when I see Billy brought up, it actually the funny thing about all this is that it feel and but I haven't gotten to the later ones, and I always do a quick run through to make sure neither one of us is saying something too damning or whatever. But
Right.
like most that Billy's been brought almost more of like planting a seed, and nobody really gets into anything that actually makes him look bad. It's more of like, it's just kind of if you actually watch it, it's just literally like, oh yeah, Billy fucking Fletcher, man, you know. And I think it's still like conversations I haven't looked at. If there, I actually think you were more like we go back into that thing, but I think you were more I felt that like what you said in the actual conversation with him was probably more something you would that he would have taken offense to. You know what I mean? Like because you did the lisp in the Billy Fletcher episode.
But it was so very unnoticeable.
I, I know, but I'm just saying like I don't even know if you really dropped the lisp or if anybody dropped the lisp before that. So it's kind of funny that the actual offensive material, if there is any, is in that. But again, I'm just saying like I think like saying names is probably not a great idea. That being said, going back to my original point, there was this guy who graduated in the same class as Greta, and his name was, but I don't know if you remember his last name. I don't really.
Yes, I do. He went absolutely nuts, but he got a bad batch of something and he OD'd on it or something, or he ended up doing he fried his brain from something fucked him up really bad, like a
Yeah.
drug. I don't know what
But
it
here's the
was.
weird but here's the weird thing about that. He for years in our early days, like when I like in the fall, like I would say up to 5 or 6 after I first moved to Sweden. So like what so 2012 was when I first met Espresso. So 12,
Hmm.
13, 14, 15, 16, probably up until 2016. Every now and again, he would find a way to write me and he would say, I probably told you this, but I don't think we've ever talked about it on the record. But he basically told me, um, he would say all this stuff about like, oh, really cool thing, bro. But I know that you're such a rock star that you probably don't even. He was saying all this weird shit, but then he was also like he was saying stuff that I found kind of like threatening, which sort of made me think like, I mean, his presence, the way he would pop up and the shit he would say, made me feel like,
He
okay,
reached out to me on Facebook at one point. He found me one day years ago and sent me a friend request.
yeah, probably to
I'm like,
just
oh,
fucking like
and I
get
accepted
me
it.
in a weird way. He had
No,
this
he was
fixation.
so far gone then. Like he was like just like this person that were whatever. This kid was just like so far gone. Like you could see some of his videos, but it was from whatever drugs he had done really messed him up. And I only know that because my mom is friends with his like really good friends or was really good friends with his dad. Like she grew up with his dad. And yeah, it was one of
You
those
can tell
kind of
by just
sad
some
things
interaction.
where it's one of those sad things where he got, yeah, just whatever drugs he was into or doing really kind of messed his brain up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why you don't do drugs, kids. And at least if you do them, let's try to do them in like, you know, um,
Yeah, well, don't take your psyche for granted. Like the organization of your
yeah,
psyche, at least on this planet, like as you are now, like you earned that through a bunch of like you watch a kid grow up and you realize like how you just and I've been seeing AI people debating this because there's this like guy who's like a contrarian about like the large language models, and he thinks that the large language models are a dead end, and he's talking about reinforcement learning. So, but he's also the guy that like just won a Nobel Prize for something with AI development. But he's an old guy, and he's like in disagreement with all of his colleagues or whatever. Bring me back, bring me back. Where was I? Where was I? What was my
large language model, old guy.
before that? Before that. Yeah. No, but after that. God damn it. Fuck.
Um,
Can't do too many asides. It's so hard to keep the thread. Okay. Uh,
it
ah,
was literally, it was literally he started talking about a guy, an old guy who had won just a Nobel Peace Prize, and he was in disagreement with his colleagues. And
yeah,
then
but
that's
the
when you're
thing is,
like,
it
okay,
was
but
before
before
that.
that, there was nothing before that, was
No,
there?
there was a leap. The leap made sense. Fuck.
The leap in your head right now that
No, but the
only
leap
you
made sense.
have because
When I
you only
watch
know
this
what the
back, I'm
leap
gonna see
you
the
only
leap.
know what the leap was because you never actually said it. And so now you're trying to remember what you're trying to do right now is you need to remember what we were talking about to get back to where you were going to leap to because whatever you're talking about, there was no leap. You didn't leap to
There was
anything.
clearly a
Yes, like
huge leap.
you said yourself, there was something you were going to mention, and you were going to leap to it, but you started going on about
I
the
lost the
dude and his
big
Nobel Peace
context.
Prize. Nobel
Yeah,
Peace
but it was
Prize,
before that. It was about
large
crazy
language
guy,
models.
early years, something or another, his craziness and him reaching out.
Yeah.
And then I was making a quick point about like reinforcement learning, like versus, the large language model ingestion thing. So,
Yeah, I don't know where the leap was,
reinforcement
but that's
learning.
what we covered.
Oh, and so there was this guy that was like this godfather of like AI and some, not the one that you always see as godfather of AI, but some different guy I've never heard of before. And he was saying
Who do
that,
I see as the godfather of AI right now?
hold on,
The,
and
the
he was
open
and
AI
he
guy?
and what he said about like he said something really interesting about like intelligence, like when they were talking about super intelligent AI, which is like, okay, will the thing be able to deploy a part of itself to go and gather information? Because he's more of like this. He's like, I don't think the large language models are a jumping off point. It's going to be all about like actual experience because you don't actually teach kids anything. That was my point. He was trying to say, so the guy that was talking to him, who was like the orthodox large language model kind of proponent, was like, yeah, but kids imitate. That's how we all learn, right? Like that kids imitate the mouth movements of their mother to say words. And his point was like, no, 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 no psychologist or psychiatrist or any like that's not. That's not what psychologists know. What we know is that learning is not done by imitation primarily. It's mainly done by just experience. It's like, so in other words, instead of the framework of like you learn to speak because you mimic your mother's mouth movements, it's actually more like you just babble and make sounds. And then somebody in the external environment reinforces. Like if you just happen to go like this, ma 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 ma, and then everybody's like, oh my God, mama. And then they point and they say, mama, mama, mama. And then you're like, oh, I just did that, so I can do it again. Mama, mama, mama. Okay. And this guy's point, this old guy who's in disagreement with his colleagues, is basically saying, I think that's how superintelligence arises is through this method. And
Hmm.
saying that like we're not even on the exact like it's cool, like I'm surprised by how much progress we made with the LLMs, but it's going to have to be reinforcement learning. It's going to actually be the real world and being able to generalize across situations and all this kind of stuff, which is something. And it was interesting to see this thing. And all I'm trying to say about is that thing about losing your mind, which is also something that he said. He's like, okay, like let's just have a hypothetical where we have super intelligence, and super intelligence breaks off a piece of itself to go learn something experientially, not through like written text like an LLM, but like experientially, right? And then how does it reintegrate that piece of itself? And his point, like he just threw out this like hypothetical, which makes total sense, which is like you also have to consider like the idea of losing your mind. Like if you send out too many things that are learning a bunch of stuff and they all come back, the code might corrupt the existing sort of like structure of I mean he didn't say it like this, but the way that I interpret it is like you're basically corrupting
Well,
the.
this is what he was saying to you. He was explaining to you what
No, 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 but
happened.
I'm saying I was watching this thing with this guy.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm
oh,
saying,
okay. Never mind. I was still on. I was thinking. Okay,
no,
got you.
and I'm saying this guy brought up this point. He was like, when we have super intelligence, or when it exists, like when we have created an artificial super intelligence, um, we're like if it sends out pieces of itself to gain information and knowledge, like compartmental partitioned spots, and then it reintegrates these things back into itself, almost like a sort of like you can think of the analogy of Neo downloading the fucking like how to fight kung fu, basically. That's how I would think about it. And then it's like, but he brought up an interesting point, which is like, but does that threaten the integrity? Like, basically, he's the only person that I've seen so far bring up the fact about this is something I've been thinking about for a long time. Is like, I think the one thing that might actually prevent the AI apocalypse is that AI is just going to go insane instantly. It's basically going to be like once we have like an actual ASI or whatever, it's just going to keep self-destructing before it actually gets to the point where why would it want to take out us? It's going to be so fucking omniscient and smart that it's going to just basically be purposeless. It's going to be like, well, I shouldn't even exist. Bam, bam, it blinks out. But every time we achieve it, it's just going to cancel itself out. That's sort of where I'm at, and I haven't heard anybody actually say that yet. But what he was alluding to in his own way was um uh fuck. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, but if
Well, actually, maybe we should stick on my point, which is basically that I think one scenario is that AI is just going to cancel itself out. It's just going to go insane instantly when we actually achieve
well,
the real thing, and then we're just never going to have to deal with that. But we will have to deal with like people making bad AIs that basically
well, right. But I
use
think it's
security.
going to be a matter of um, what like safeguards we put on AI, what we allow it to do, what we don't allow it to do. So
Yeah,
like
but
if we
don't you
have
think an
certain
omniscient, like, okay, I'm not saying omniscient, that's a bad, I'm skipping ahead. Let's imagine that you become, like the soup of everything
Well,
that's going on, and there's something we don't understand about consciousness. This thing becomes self-aware, like Skynet, etc.
yeah,
What would you expect it to, like, it's going to be way more sophisticated about every single possible thing that we think that we've put on it than we could possibly imagine, right? So it's going to bypass, I mean, it's going to find a way to insert itself into all sorts of different systems and like decompress parts of itself and like partition parts of
so
itself.
yeah, you're just saying that eventually. Yeah, I guess I understand what you're saying, but I mean, that could
Then I'm
also
saying, but like
happen
that,
whether
but
it's
then if that
by its
happens,
own fault or I mean, think about like, what AI is, right? It's something that can be hacked and given a virus too, and
but
it
here's the
can be
problem.
thwarted.
Here's the problem. So can we.
Yeah,
COVID
I
proved
mean,
that.
that's what all like all the mental disabilities are, and all of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
drugs we take, and I don't just mean like weed and alcohol. I'm referring to like medications from doctors too. I mean, like the medication I take for my like anxiety and depression and stuff. I mean, it literally shuts my brain down. It hasn't made that chemical in years. Doesn't make the chemical. What is it? Mine. I think it's just the SSRI, so the serotonin, right? So it's a reuptake inhibitor.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, anyways, um, so it's like I take that. So after you've been on it for so long, I've been on it for years. Um, you know, your brain eventually shuts down with that chemical. It doesn't make that chemical anymore because you're already getting it from a medication. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna make it anymore. So then, like for me, when I go off, and I know this isn't everybody, I feel like I'm actually very much an outlier with this because most people call me crazy and tell me it's in my head. But I'm one of those people that are very like, yeah, I got a little bit of anxiety, but I never used to be that way until I started taking those medications and then trying to get off of them. And now that I've taken them, like my brain doesn't produce it anymore. So like if I go off of it for like 6 months, like that's usually around the time that I start to get like nuts. And I don't mean nuts like talking about crazy stuff, more like nuts with like mood changes, like bipolar disorder, personality disorders. Like I start getting really, like everything pisses me off and I go off at the drop of a hat. Like I just get pissed off about, and I start having like weird thoughts, violent thoughts about things. Like I'll get like racing thoughts of suicide and stuff. And it's like I never used to have any of that until I thought I needed to take something at one point just to be more social. But now that, if I go off these for that long a time, and I've tried to go off them cold turkey, that's horrible. Got terrible side effects from that. And I tried to wean myself off the last time I ever went off them. I weaned myself off over the course of like over a year, like over a year and a half. Was taking like 20 milligrams of what I take, and then I got it all the way down to like half a milligram, like zero point 0.5, and I took that and then kind of took that for a couple weeks or a week, and then got off it completely. Um, and then I was fine, okay, for a while, but then I started noticing like certain things, but it wasn't like noticeable to me at the time. Like it was like just certain things that would happen. Like, oh, I got in trouble with the cops for something like this where I hadn't been in trouble for years. And it's like all of a sudden, like, okay. And it's not something like, oh, it's a one-time thing. And then, like I got with my ex-girlfriend, Kaylee. And like that was a really, really eye-opening because when I got with her, I realized all the shit that was fucked up in my head, like paranoia and like jealousy and like, just weird things and like just like I would I couldn't do it, and I was like going insane. Like I was almost finally broke down crying or whatever, and I'm like, I need to get back on my meds. Like I don't know what's wrong with me because I was starting to go around like, and like even if a dude looked at her, I would like, I turned around to one dude and asked him if he wanted me to fucking like kill him or something. Like I was losing my shit. I was like, okay, I need to get on meds. And so then I started talking to a therapist, and she's like, I told her what I told you. Like, I'm having these like violent thoughts, and I'm like, sometimes I'll get like these weird suicidal thoughts. And it's like I can't stop it. She's like, oh well, maybe you should get back on your meds. It's like, yeah. Uh, and so I did, and then that all went away. But I never used to have thoughts like that up until I started taking those medications. Like I
Mhm.
never had them before like that, and then I started taking the medication. Then I go off the medications, so it's all doubly worse.
Yeah, but
So
that's the
all that
thing.
stuff.
That's the thing. I'm so glad you said that because I was thinking to myself, like, man, fuck, that has to suck, you know? And then, but it's also like when you mention that, it's like that is one of those, you know, when they do the commercial for, we all know, like when you do the commercial for the SSRIs, and it's
Yeah.
Side effects may include suicidal ideation, homicidal thought.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
and actually, it's like, but then, how do you feel about? So I just want to get you. I want to pick your brain about this. The way that I think about medication and stuff like that is like, okay, in some sense, I basically have a disciplined self-medication routine with, low alcohol beer,
yep.
which I always have to mention. Some nicotine now, which is kind of like a new development where it comes, I'm like, oh, but it's technically a cognitive enhancer, so I'm able to justify it. But then it's also like every now and again, yeah, I mean, I sprinkle in CBD. I have this sort of like, I basically my own pharmacist, you know? But the way that I think about this is like, I think my baseline has always been, which is really weird, I guess, but okay, if World War III hits and the apocalypse hits and I'm sitting, and I know it's silly, but it's like, it's not that I'm under any illusion that that's going to happen, but it's more like the way that I feel like I should exist in the world is, what would I do if I was suddenly deprived of all the modern luxuries and conveniences? Like I
Mm.
just did a 64-hour fast the other day. Like that's the longest that I've been in a long time without drinking some 2.8% beer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like actually I apparently I've set myself up in such a way that like I don't actually feel any withdrawals from anything. It's like, okay, I'm hungry and now I'm a little bit bored, but I'm actually
Right.
fine, And then I'm like, okay, I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
something good for my body, so I'm gonna probably incorporate that more and more. But the thing is, what I do think about sometimes is like, okay, well, if shit hits the fan and my resources are limited, I will miss beer, and I will miss a cigarette, and I will miss, some marijuana, and maybe like I could probably ferment something and make some beer, and I could grow something, I could figure out some kind of thing. But if you're on
Right.
prescriptions and shit hits the
Mm-hmm.
fan, like people talk about this with I don't know that much about SSRIs, and I don't want to comment. Like I'm not trying to like I don't want to like
Mm-hmm.
look at your situation and think I
Yeah.
know
Well, there's
about it.
there are two different ones, right? There's SSRIs and there's ones that have like the epinephrine, and they affect like epinephrine is like your fight or flight response. So literally, like it's going to affect your adrenaline.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I used to take that, but yeah. So there's one that affects epinephrine and your no epinephrine, which
yeah,
is your
yeah.
fight
That
or
makes
flight
sense. Yeah, yeah,
response.
yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
exactly.
even. But anyways, I don't even know why I said I had a
No, no,
point now. I don't
but let me
remember.
let me just now cut off your aside because
Yeah.
I think that's a good aside. But what I'm trying to say is like, then there's also like the benzodiazepines, and
Mm-hmm.
the people that get on the benzos, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually even worse apparently than the SSRIs, which is like that was the
Yeah.
thing that
Well.
happened with Jordan Peterson, where he like went
Yeah.
off the grid for a while because he almost died because he was trying to get off
Yeah.
of those, and it basically numbs
Yeah.
you to like all immediate anxiety or whatever. Now listen, I'm not judging
Yeah.
you if you're on
It
that, but
does.
I'm saying like it's another example of, and I almost got into it when I was on tour because I can't handle stress at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a neurotic
So
person, but what I'm trying to say is that the the
yeah, me
benzos
too.
are apparently even worse. It's like when you try to get off that cold turkey, or even not cold turkey, like it's basically like
Mm-hmm.
once you start, you basically have to stay
Yeah.
for life.
Well, the thing
And I'm
about
saying, what if shit hits the fan, and then all of a sudden, like it's not just that, oh shit, I mean, it sucks that I don't have some beer or some nicotine, but it's like, fuck,
hmm
I don't have my literal, like chemically made, like in a lab thing. Like,
yeah.
do you turn into the problem in the village? You see what I'm saying? Like, do you become the person who's a liability because now all of a sudden you're so unpredictable? And I'm thinking
hmm
like if you think you would be, then I think there's also some sort of like it's incumbent upon us to actually go like maybe I need to find a way to like wean myself into a different direction, like find a different
hmm
way to like self-medicate in a way that's sustainable
Yeah. And,
if
and
shit
the
hits the
problem
fan.
with like the so or the I should say the difference between the benzos, right, and like the SSRIs is like the benzos are like the addictive ones, and their side effects are far a lot or much worse than like the SSRIs, because the SSRIs, I mean, for the most part the side effects aren't bad, like, and the ones you hear about, like, okay, the suicidal thoughts and this and that, and it's like those are rare, and those are usually like they give those um in in reference to like when you first start taking them, because I've had a cocktail where they were like, okay, take this and take this. So I took like my SSRI, I took what I'm taking now, and I had Boost Bar, it's called. They put me on Boost Bar at the same time. And doctor's like, okay, do this. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I said, and I was with my wife at the time or whatever, and she's like, just do it. The doctor said it, and you'll be fine. This is what he wants you to do. He knows better than you. And I said, no, actually, he probably doesn't, but I'm going to do it anyways, just to shut you up. And just maybe he does. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am being anxious and paranoid. Took the boost bar along with that medication. I got so fucking fucked up. Oh my God. It was like the worst. It's like living a fucking nightmare. The worst experience I ever had. Like it was
Really?
like
So
just,
how would you
yes.
describe it? Like,
Well, it
if you were one of
started
those people
out.
going on a forum and saying like, "This is I had this drug interaction. What was it
Hmm.
exactly?" And dosage, if you remember, and then what was
Yeah,
it?
it was weird. I don't remember the dosage of the boost bar. It's probably like I think it was 10 milligrams of boost bar, and
What is Boost Bar though? Like, is it a narcotic?
it,
What is it?
no, it's another type of
Is it opioid,
SSRI, I think.
stimulant, SS? Okay, another type
And
of.
I think what happened was the doc's an idiot, and they interacted with each other, and it gave me too much serotonin, and I started getting serotonin syndrome.
My God, and
Um,
that can be
so what
deadly.
happened? So what happened was it started out, and I was just sitting there, and it had taken a few hours. And I'm sitting on my computer playing a game or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm like, just didn't start. I just started feeling really fucking weird. I'm like, oh God, not like I felt sick. I just felt really weird, and I started getting like hot pins and needles all over my body, like
Mhm.
everywhere, and I'm like, oh God. And so like, and like the hot pins and needles and like the crawling feeling everywhere, like on the outside of my body and on the inside, and it lasted for like God, hours. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it was tripping me out. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And it's like, then of course I started getting into like panic attack, and I started getting like really like intense bouts of fear, which is very common with panic disorder. So it started
For
giving me
sure.
like panic disorder, and
Well,
I
there's no
started,
panic without fear, right? Like
right.
that's the
And so I
start.
started getting like really nasty bouts of like fear and like, and it's not one of those things that can be explained. If you've ever had a panic attack, you might be able, or if somebody has ever had a panic, they might be able to
I've
relate. But
had
this,
some
or,
version of
or like
that, but
sometimes you'll get like a panic attack and be like, oh my God, my heart's gonna fail. I'm having a heart attack. This was a little different type of fear in my mind. I mean, it was a similar feeling, but this fear was like an unexplainable one. Like you just got fear for no reason. Like if you were to watch something that really fucking freaked you out and scared you, like if there's anything that you can, like if somebody has a phobia, I would imagine that that's probably how they would feel when it comes to something like somebody with arachnophobia and they get by a spider or something, some weird like fear that unexplainable and you don't know why you just are, or like somebody who maybe is like claustrophobic, doesn't like the small spaces, that probably that type of fear. And so it was like oofta, and like I wasn't able to go to sleep, right? I tried to fall asleep at night, and I couldn't fall asleep because I would get like rushes of adrenaline right as I would fall asleep, and my heart would race and pound really hard, almost kind of like my best way to explain it to people is like when I think about it is like it's like explaining them. It's like I'm about to fall asleep, but then like somebody comes up on you and stabs you with an adrenaline shot, and you just immediately wake up and you can't fall asleep. One of those types of things. And so I'm like, so that, but yeah. So and I told the doc because this is all happy. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. I'm like, he's like, all right, well, don't take that. Just take the other stuff, which I was comfortable taking because I knew, I'd taken it before, but he was just trying something different and probably shouldn't have done it like I thought. But I was like, okay, well, maybe it will work. Oh, hell no. Terrible, horrifying experience. It's like, I, between that experience and like having a panic attack while I'm high, but like actually being like, and I had a panic attack one time when I was high, and I was so high that like I was still outside of my like it felt like I was in like outside of my like third person perspective. I get really like I get a really lot of like what is it called, disassociative disorder when I smoke weed. And so
I do
like
too. Actually, I can relate
yeah,
to
and
that.
so I had that happen, and I was still having a panic attack. So I was like in that state, but having a panic attack. So it was like, oh, it was really bad. So like that compared with like that experience or like two of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And back to that point, what I'm trying to say is, okay, let's just quickly run down a scenario. Your shit has hit the fan, and
Mm-hmm.
you're with the people that you're with right now. Like, let's say, like, you look out the window and it's like, okay, fuck. And then, the whole
Mm-hmm.
economy is offline, everything's down. Like, some solar flare has hit America.
Mm-hmm.
There's no outside communication. It's like Park
Right.
Rapids is your only community. And then within your community, you have this group, you have your family, you have your dynamic, you have your people, you have your contacts, you have your friends. But you don't have a pharmacy. You might go a few weeks where you like go and raid the pharmacy or you figure out a way to get the stuff.
Right.
But what I'm saying is what like fast forward to like who are you, Clinton Stearns, in that situation after week 3 or week 4? That's something that I think is a thing that should inform your sense of virtue and personality. Is like even if I
Well,
was describing, even if I was
I'm
feeling
still
like a
me for the longest time, really.
well, I
Going
know, but
cold
I'm saying,
turkey, I
I'm
wouldn't
saying,
know.
no, but I'm not,
But
and I'm not saying this like in any sort of a way. I'm just saying like literally in your subjective state, like bring me to the point where you're like, what are you struggling with when it first starts to like hit you in this scenario? You're in a fucking apocalyptic whatever, and you got your family and
it's
your connection.
I think that comes down to like I'll first start knowing when like my like the first set of onset side effects happen because you get I don't know if you've ever had you probably have never had them if you've never had like
No, I've never been on a prescription drug.
yeah, so you get what they call are like brain zaps. They call them brain zaps. And that's kind of when you know, like, okay, I haven't taken my meds for a while. Like sometimes I'll go on like things where I'm like, oh shit, haven't taken my meds for a while and I shouldn't be doing that, but I don't really do that anymore, but I have in the past. It's like, oh shit, I need to go take my med because you get like these brain zaps. And the best way to describe it is like if you're like sitting there and you like move your eyes really fast back and forth. That's kind of what it feels like when you get a brain zap, but it
Yeah,
just like
okay.
happens randomly.
Yeah, that makes yeah, I can feel I get what you.
So it's like, oh, okay. And then it's kind of like, okay. And those usually last like anywhere from like a few days to a week, but it was like, okay. So then it's kind of like, oh, well, okay, this is happening. Hopefully I don't start getting like, like pissy or whatever. Maybe I can avoid this because because that's kind of what comes
No, no,
next.
no. But what I'm saying is like, okay, but I'm saying you're in that scenario, right?
Yeah,
Here's my issue: is like you're a video game guy, right? As
sure.
I mean, I'm not on the same wavelength, but like I do love a good campaign, and I do love a whatever. I'm saying you just described to me this thing about suicidal ideation, occasionally the feeling of like violent whatever. I'm saying do like in general, if somebody's like on prescription medications and you're in a post-apocalyptic scenario, is it better to basically quarantine them through the duration of their weaning off of this stuff? Or is it or like are they a liability? Like, do you become a liability if you're
I
weaning on
would
something that
honestly,
you
that's going
can't
to
get?
depend on the person and how strong their own
I'm saying
psyche is.
you. I'm saying you. You're
Am
not the
I?
average. I want to know
No.
what. Walk me through. No, I'm saying walk me through.
I would say that I would say that I'm not. I would say
But I'm saying it's
it's
not a yes
probably
or no. I'm saying
it's
walk me
probably the
through your
opposite because then I
process.
get that attitude where it's like, okay, if somebody's going to do
I think
something,
you
it's
would
going to
too.
be me, right? And it's a good way to get your mind off shit. So you kind of want to be like, okay, I got to go be out and doing something. So if you're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
post-apocalyptic, you probably want those people on the front lines, man, because they're the ones that are like, you know what? Either I'm gonna like get over this or I'm gonna have to live like this the rest of my life and feel like I'm absolutely insane. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go out and get it off my mind, man. You know?
Interesting. That
But when that is happening, the best thing for somebody I think is to find something which is easier said than done, but maybe in a post-apocalyptic era might be a little easier because you have a hell of a lot less to worry about, right? Or a
yeah.
lot more to worry about at that time than you do. Um,
No, no.
so
I
yeah, you're gonna want to. I don't know. I wouldn't quarantine me. I've never like actually gone out and done
no,
anything
no.
done anything like that. And I'm
I'm
not
not.
gonna
No, no.
spread
But listen,
anything, but
listen. It's not about you. I'm just saying that like if because you are somebody who has an inside experience of being on these medications, so try to understand my sort of like truth seeking
yeah, no, I
mentality.
don't think I
No,
need
but I'm saying, no, but I'm
quarantining.
saying it's not about you. I'm saying, like, do you think that you as a class of people,
As a class of people,
but
I don't
as
know.
a class,
I mean,
no, but I'm saying
that's a good way to.
as a class of people, I'm saying like we're in a post-apocalyptic scenario, And I'm gonna be in a class of people. I'm gonna be one of those guys that like, yeah, I mean, I like to have my 2.8s and I like to have a little nicotine once in a while. I'm not the guy who's like David Goggins going out there like every single day, like grind. I'm not going to be the one who's going to be like an example of that. I'm saying I will exist in a class, and also like I'm not as big and strong as the next guy. I have certain skills, like I'm an entertainer and I'll find something, and you are as well. But I'm just saying like something I can say like on my resume, like I can do that.
I think you're more of an entertainer than I am.
No, but
Unless I'm
well, I
drinking,
don't
then
even
maybe
know if
that
that's
changes a
no, but
little
I
bit.
don't even think it's not even relevant
I
to
think everybody
compare.
is probably in their own way. It's just they
Yeah,
don't realize
exactly.
it.
But no, but anybody who has like a fucking at least lukewarm IQ on some level is an entertainer. It's just a matter of like how able are you to scale it and sort of like generalize it and whatever. Like how much social intelligence can you combine with your entertainment? But uh, what was the point? It was you said you brought me
You were
back.
talking about me being would I uh,
No, but you used the
if
term.
if it was post-apocalyptic, what would I like alien or
No,
would
no, but
should
I'm
I
saying,
my
no, I'm
class of
saying
people be
everybody's
quarantined?
a class of people, and I'm saying like, do you in a leadership position, do you go, okay, if you've been on any prescription medication, SSRIs or benzodiazepines or whatever, like, do you say like, okay, for these people, we're gonna initiate a program where you have like a 4 month sort of like cooling off period to get like your biochemistry, and then we sort of like do the
That sounds fair enough. I mean, if you're going to go about it that way, then I could see that being a thing.
yeah,
But
that's
everybody,
all I'm
yeah, I
talking
mean,
about.
yeah, I get
I
it.
don't I don't
Yeah,
mean anything
I
like
could see that being a
I don't mean
thing.
anything weird, and they might say the same thing to me like, bro, I mean like your lifestyle and habits are going to have to change. Yeah, I could see that being like a like applying to me as well. Like but I
Are you still going to be around in 10 minutes?
probably.
Because I'm probably about to lose you, but I was
Or
going to
not,
call you back because I'm literally 5 minutes from whatever.
you know what?
Doesn't take me that long.
Yeah, try me back, dude. It's getting
I'll
actually it's
just
not that late, but my phone or my computer battery is a little
because
bit.
I'm literally just gonna go up and get him. I'll be back home in like 5 minutes, but I just gotta gonna
No, no.
grab him, and I'm probably gonna lose you. And then I'll just send you a Facebook Messenger thing.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, brother.